Hey, what's going on, everybody? Isaac here. Today, I just want to give you an overview and talk about one of my favorite knives. It was one of my grail knives for a long time. It's a it's a medium-sized fixed blade, and I think it's great. This is the Case Winkler Skinner. So it is a collaboration between Case, the All-American, been around for 130 some years, Case Cutlery, headquartered in Bradford, Pennsylvania, and Winkler Knives, who is out of Boone, North Carolina. So, Case been around forever. Daniel Winkler's been making knives since the 70s, technically. I'm not sure when he turned full-time professional. I think maybe in the late 80s or so. He was a full-time bladesmith, mostly making hand-forged customs made to look like old-time frontier knives. And he got a big break when he made tomahawks and blades for the movie The Last of the Mohicans in the early 1990s. And then was noticed in this movie by a Navy SEAL who wanted a custom axe from Daniel based, on what he saw in The Last Mohicans of what Magwa's tomahawk was like. And he got himself an axe made from Daniel Winkler that he carried all over the world. Many deployments throughout Iraq, Afghanistan, and maybe some places that we don't even know. And this guy is named Kevin Holland, and he worked to design this knife right here. So they call this the Skinner, not for its functionality as a skinning knife, but because Skinner was a nickname that Kevin Holland had received whilst in the military. So this knife is a little over 5 inches in blade length. As you can see, it's got some frontier inspirations of its own. I think it's very much, inspired by like the old time French trade type knives that, were traded with the Indians in the 18th century. It's pretty thin in the handle, but it's got these really cool camo G10 scales. Match it in with my hoodie here. We got. Now this doesn't focus too much, but you'll see the Case tank stamp on this side of the knife, and Winkler on this side. So these knives are made in the Case factory in Pennsylvania, with the materials supplied by Winkler, and they're built to Daniel Winkler's specifications and his type of quality control. Because when you buy a Winkler knife, you're paying for it, and these knives are quite similar in cost to what you'd get from Winkler knives directly. So Case has these made by, or had, it is now discontinued for the time being. They had a special team of guys at their factory make these knives. You'll see some high-end Case knives come out now and then, like Tony Bowes designs that Case will charge like $400 or $500 for a Tony Bowes trapper, and they're not handmade by Tony Bowes. They're made by these highly skilled folks working at Case on this specialized team, and that's who made this. And there was a series of knives that were a collaboration with Winkler called the American Hero series, and this was one of them. I believe the first one they actually released. So this knife, what's it good for? Is it a good skinning knife? I mean, it can get the job done. It doesn't necessarily have that huge curved belly, but I don't see why it couldn't be a decent hunting knife. I actually carried this on a couple of hunts in hopes of using it as a hunting knife, but unfortunately was not successful. But carried it around for hours out in the woods, and it carried really nicely on my belt in this leather sheath. It's a nice wide belt loop here, hangs down a little bit. I was very hesitant on the sheath design for this, but I've actually grown to like it. It's real nice leather sheath. It's hard molded. I believe it's over Kydex, like you would get in a sheath from Winkler knives. So this is, it's really an all-purpose knife. It's a utility blade, camp, bushcraft, tactical use. No reason why Kevin Holland couldn't carry this knife on missions in the military. So I mentioned he was a Navy SEAL earlier in the video, but he left the SEAL team in, I think, the mid 90s because he got bored, because there was no big war to fight. It was just training, and for what? Then September 11th, 2001 came along, and he felt the call to go back into the military. And something came up where he couldn't really get on the SEAL teams again right away. And by the way, he wasn't just on a SEAL team. He was on DevGru, in the early 90s. He was SEAL Team 6 guy, top of the line there. But he eventually got into Delta Force. I guess he had a call with Kyle Lamb, who's pretty well known. Viking Tactics today, look him up. But he was in Delta Force for many years. Was at the Battle of Mogadishu, portrayed in the movie Black Hawk Down, and actually has his own knife in this American Hero series made by Case. And he helped Kevin Holland get into Delta Force, which is the Army equivalent of SEAL Team 6, which is pretty darn cool. And Kevin was eventually wounded, took a shot in the shoulder that had him medically retired from the United States military, but he was able to continue to serve after some healing as a contractor. So he went back for more over in Afghanistan and other parts of the world. So no doubt he could have carried something like this to war and been just fine. It is a flat ground blade, 80 CRV2 steel. Came with a real nice edge on from Case. I have touched it up some on my Arkansas stones. I'm just hitting it on the leather strap I have on my tabletop in front of me here, because why not? Sometimes you just got to stand that edge back up once in a while. So it is a pretty sharp knife. Let me grab a piece of rope here that's on the ground and give it a little slice. Why not? But this is one of my favorites. It's a pretty lightweight knife, great to carry on a hike and stuff. Really, the only place you can find these now is eBay, or like one of the Winkler knives fan groups on Facebook if you want to buy one of these. And they're not cheap, but I don't know, I just love this knife, and I really wanted this camo G10. I just think it looks really cool, like modernizes a classic design. But they did also make these with walnut scales and a black micarta, and it is on the thick side too. It's 3/16, and then of course tapers down to the point, and kind of a Winkler signature. It's thick here and then tapers down toward the butt end of the knife there as well, and you got your lanyard hole. So you're pretty set with this knife to do a lot of different tasks. and really is just fantastic. 5 inches on the blade, not too big, not too small, maybe, not an EDC pocket carry type of fixed blade, but really great knife. So I got to get this out a little more and use this year and enjoy this thing. So hopefully you liked hearing about this blade and a bit about the designer, Kevin Holland. So take care, good night, or good morning, whenever you're watching this video, and see you next time.